Hi everyone, welcome to Adult Educators Weekly. I'm your host Rima. Today we'll be talking about lifelong learning, which is a key component of adult education. Adult education is a process in which adults expand their knowledge base and skill set. Especially in today's world, adult education is no longer solely based in traditional classroom, but also takes place in workplaces and online as we move towards a learning-based society promoting lifelong learning. First, I'm going to give you a brief introduction on what constitutes lifelong learning and go in depth by speaking with two guest speakers from very diverse backgrounds that pursue lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is a voluntary pursuit of knowledge motivated by professional or personal reasons. It's a combination of using both informal and formal learning in order to promote continuous development and enhance the knowledge and skills required for employment and self-satisfaction. Today I have here with me two very different individuals, Paul and Jasmine.
Hello,
Hi,
nice
Paul.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Jasmine. If you guys can give a brief introduction about yourselves and background.
So I'll start. My name is Jasmine and I'm 41 years old. I actually immigrated to Canada about 2 years ago from India. So being born and raised in India, I was actually a doctor for 11 years. When my parents decided to stay back in India, my husband and I actually made the decision to come to Canada in hopes of providing a better future for my children. So upon arrival, my credentials were actually not recognized by Canadian education system, so I couldn't practice as a doctor here anymore. And because of this, I decided to go back to school, and I'm actually currently enrolled in a part-time program at a local community college in hopes of becoming a medical office assistant.
Wow, nice. Okay, what about you, Paul?
Hi guys, my name is Paul. I'm 44 years old and I currently practice law at a very well-established firm in Vancouver. I come from a very well-off family. My parents earn a high-level income, so money is of no problem to me. I earned my undergraduate degree from McGill University back east,
Wow.
and actually got my law degree here at UBC. And as of now, I'm looking to expand my education and continue education in the hopes of becoming a professor at a university and hopefully teaching law.
Wow, interesting. What are your guys' view on lifelong learning?
Well, I believe that people believe subconsciously that they spend those 25 to 30 years of their life learning and absorbing knowledge. So it's pretty much from kindergarten up until you earn your degree or your postgraduate degree. We then feel like this phase of learning is over and we go into the adult life and work daily, etc. However, people need to know that just because our formal education is finished, it doesn't mean that your education is over. Because lifelong learning is a process in which people continually learn through informal and informal learning methods for continuous development and obtaining knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Jet? Oh, actually, what you mentioned informal learning.
Yes, I did.
What is informal
Very
learning?
good question. Informal learning is kind of like a learning method you obtain through your everyday life. So it's like an individual can obtain knowledge just by interacting with others. It can be at work, at school, playing sports, just your day-to-day run-of-the-mill with a stranger, hopefully. Yes.
Oh, wow, very interesting. What about you, Jasmine? What is your view on lifelong learning?
For me, my view corresponds with Werner's approach, as Werner's aims of and functions of adult education was basically that adult education is expansional. By expansional, he means that no adult is ever fully equipped with the right skill sets. So therefore, at each stage in a person's life, they must adapt to their current situation or their environment, given their circumstances, by gaining relatable skills and experiences in that field.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
What is your guys' purpose for lifelong learning? Is it financial or is it just to expand your knowledge? What is it?
Well, for me, it's not about that money. Continuing my education is about obtaining that internal satisfaction within. Like according to Werner's approach, it claims that through adult education, individuals can learn to identify their education needs and master different processes that enable them to integrate old and new knowledge. So combine both.
Yeah.
And so as I learn these new skills and techniques, it feels like I've mastered another part of life, and along with this becomes a different purpose in life as well. So basically, for me, it's about deepening my knowledge and becoming a better leader. And I believe I can achieve this by becoming a professor.
Oh, very interesting. Is it the same for you, or do you have another reason for pursuing lifelong learning?
For me, the reason I'm pursuing lifelong learning, to be brutally honest, is because of financial necessities.
That's not bad. It's still
I
good.
know.
Honest truth.
Because
Yeah.
As I got older, I actually realized that through lifelong learning, people were able to get better and higher earning wages.
Definitely.
So I also realized that, like, because some of my education was outdated, that in order to be successful in the working field and be competitive with other employees, is that you need to actually have your skills up to date. So going back to school and lifelong learning constitutes this. So like years ago, you could actually finish either college or university, and that was enough to suffice and start a career and stay there and work your way up. But if you want to stay competitive in today's job market and to potentially earn more money, you actually need education. I think with education comes more job opportunities, more
Definitely.
advancement. So especially for people like me who are trying to raise a family in a new country, as a qualified doctor, as I mentioned earlier, I came to Canada to provide a better future for my family, but through education, I think that's the only way I could do so. Like, as Paul is sitting right here, and he's a lawyer, whereas like my credentials were recognized. I work part-time. Financially, I think I need to be
Higher.
higher,
Yeah,
exactly,
definitely.
to succeed
Support your
in life.
family.
Yeah.
Nice. What obstacles do you guys face as lifelong learners? Are there any? Jasmine, you want to go first?
Well, for obstacles, I actually face tremendous amounts of obstacles. For starters, I think that with my current situation, I have young children at home whom I have to look after, and I also work part-time. I definitely don't have that much time on my hands or have a huge time commitment for education, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm busy raising a family and try to provide for them, so I can't imagine how difficult it would be for me to cram self-study when my day is already packed with family and work obligations. But I think as a lifelong learner, you don't have deadlines. You don't have to finish work or like projects at a certain amount of time or a degree. You can pace yourself through months, years, weeks.
Definitely.
It doesn't really matter, right? So
Whenever you're free,
exactly.
basically. Okay.
Yeah. So it's mainly time commitment. And another obstacle I face is probably money. As you know, I'm working part-time. I'm not financially stable, so I can't finance my education at this point. So it's often very difficult.
So your first priority would be to provide for your children, and education comes second.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Wow. What about you, Paul? Do you face the same obstacles as her?
Unlike Jasmine, money is not a huge obstacle for me. As you guys know, I come from a very well-off family. My parents are a high-level income. So I know money is a very big problem for many other people, but
Yeah.
not for me. As well, time is not a problem for me too. I am divorced, no children. I know Jasmine has to take care of her children.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I handed in my letter for 2 weeks' notice to terminate my
Oh,
employment
wow.
at my law firm.
Oh.
Yes, and even though it's a stable and rewarding job, I want to continue my education in the hopes of becoming a professor. So yeah, I'm 44 years old. I believe I'm still kind of young, and along with my
If you
age
say
comes
so.
experience.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I have all the time in the world right now,
Wow. Very interesting.
and I believe that lifelong learning is, for me, it's an easy process and adventurous process, fulfilling as well.
Wow. What would you say? What like are some essential aspects of becoming a lifelong learner? Like how would one become a lifelong learner in your eyes?
In my eyes, I believe that one very important aspect of becoming a lifelong learner is adopting that strong and critical mindset, like to foster your growth.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all of you guys have heard, maybe the audience as well, the quote, impossible is nothing.
Yeah.
So if people pretty much believe they can overcome the obstacles, it's like a piece of cake. However, there are some individuals who believe that their intelligence and skills are fixed or innate, and these people, they don't believe they can improve and push boundaries by effort or inputting some work. So I believe that a strong mindset is very critical to implementing lifelong learning.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely true for a lot of us. What about you, Jasmine? What are some in your eyes? What are some aspects of becoming a lifelong learner? Or what tips do you have, or how does one become a lifelong learner?
I think essential aspects of lifelong learner for me is changing your idea of learning. learning doesn't necessarily have to happen in a traditional classroom like people think it does.
Yeah.
So I think to become a lifelong learner, one must realize that there are many other ways to gain knowledge,
Definitely.
especially as technology has advanced. I don't know if you guys have heard of MOOCs, the massive open online courses.
Yeah.
There's like stuff like that provides students an opportunity to learn online rather than in the traditional classroom. So I think essentially it's just changing your perspective on things and not thinking you solely have one aspect or one way of learning when there's actually a lot more out there.
Wow, definitely. What are some resources for lifelong learning that facilitate it or promote it?
Oh, I could speak on that. As
Okay.
I mentioned earlier, there are many resources for lifelong learning. For starters, as I mentioned, I'm currently enrolled in the massive open online course, the MOOCs, which is hosted by Coursera.
Wow.
So Coursera works with many top universities from all over the globe to offer classes online for students, and they're free too, which is
Wow.
really neat. So you can take classes from a variety of disciplines. You're not really forced to take either the arts or the sciences. You can take almost anything. And from other things that I can think of from the top of my head is Open Study. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that.
No.
So Open Study is actually a social learning network that lets you connect with people that have the same goals as you, learning goals as you. And there's probably EDX as well. And EDX is actually offered by both Harvard University and MIT to create free interactive online courses for students. And the special thing about EDX is the same world-renowned professors that teach at these prestigious universities are the same ones that actually thought of the idea and created these courses.
Wow.
So in a way, it's actually
You are
pretty
going
cool.
to those kind of
it feels like you're
universities,
going to
even though
Harvard,
you're
you're
not
going
there.
to MIT. So it's actually pretty
Wow,
cool.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Are
Sure.
there any other government policies that are in place that facilitate lifelong learning or promote it? I would assume.
Now that you mention it, there is one, I believe. The government Canada implemented a lifelong learning plan. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah.
What this
kind
plan
of
allows you to do, it allows you to
Mhm.
withdraw money from your registered retirement savings plan,
Yeah.
and this money is tax-free. So for those of you who don't know, registered retirement savings plan is a savings account in which people can put money into that account and non-taxable money. However, if you want to withdraw that money from the account for different purposes, you have to pay taxes on that.
Oh.
And this tax can vary between 20 or 50% depending on how much income you earn. For me, I earn a high level income, so that tax can be up to 50%.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, say if I withdraw $100 from that registered retirement savings account, I have to pay $50 in tax. But with
wow.
this plan, it allows you to continue your education
Mhm.
without having to pay tax on withdrawing money from that account. So
Oh,
that's a very
wow.
important aspect for a lifelong learning plan. With this plan, I believe you can withdraw about $10,000 annually.
It's a lot.
That's a lot, and the total plan limit is about $20,000. And one can participate in the lifelong learning plan for themselves, their spouse, or common law partner. But I believe they cannot do it for the kids.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
unfortunately.
You mentioned this plan. I mean, is there like an eligibility requirement, or is everyone eligible for it?
I could probably speak on that part, and I've roughly heard about it, but I know that the plan, it doesn't necessarily facilitate lifelong learning for certain people like me. It does have some flaws. So what I noticed about this is that it requires students to enroll in full-time classroom education and in a designated institution, have registered retirement savings plans, and must be a Canadian citizen. So for me, I only go to school part-time because I work, so I can't really necessarily benefit from this. And the fact that I'm not a Canadian citizen yet, I just came here on a work visa and and a student visa as I'm going to school and working here, so I can't really benefit from it.
You're a permanent resident, though,
Yeah.
so permanent residents cannot apply for this program?
From what I believe, I don't think I am eligible for it.
So it's unfortunate.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate because the people that actually need the program don't benefit from it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking time out of your
No problem.
busy schedule.
Thank you
We
for
really
having us.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the purpose of today's show was to explore the meaning of lifelong learning and its relation to adult education. With these two guest speakers coming from diverse backgrounds, we reflected on the purposes for lifelong learning and the obstacles they encountered as lifelong learners. Additionally, we touched upon the existing government policies and other resources that help facilitate lifelong learning. And we sure learned a lot from you guys, and thank you for joining us once again. And thank you to the audience for tuning in, and tune in next week for another great edition of Adult Educators Weekly, as we have a very special guest joining us, Carolina Palacios, an expert in the field of adult education. So it should definitely be an interesting show. So we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
You guys may say bye. Okay.